Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive, and we're here at Lenoir Preserve in Yonkers, which is one of our 6 nature preserves in Westchester County, to launch a program that is a way to honor those that we've lost through the COVID outbreak that's happened all across the world and here in Westchester County. This is our daily 2 o'clock update. For our friends in the media who are here, this is one of the few times that, because of the setting, that you've been able to come in person. Otherwise, we're happy to do this electronically so that you don't have to put yourself in any kind of jeopardy, even as you cover the news. As we are prepared to give the update, we do not have numbers as of 2 o'clock that would reflect overnight numbers for Westchester County, the number of cases, active cases, hospitalizations, and fatalities. We will try to have that for you and communicate it to you immediately after this if we have them. As soon as we have them, we're waiting for the state tracker to be updated. And we do get a couple of information from a couple other different sources, but we'll try to have all of that to you so that you can use it in whatever kind of reporting you're going to have off of this. There are a number of issues that we will cover. We have covered yesterday. We'll cover more of it tomorrow on a variety of other issues. The status of our antibody testing, which is going on right now at the Westchester County Center in partnership with Westchester Medical Center. We're testing first responders, both county and municipal individuals who are involved in first response, police, the county corrections, the local governments, police, fire, EMS, and so forth. We'll give you a status report tomorrow on how many people we've gone through antibody testing. And it's a legitimately good number. We're trying to accomplish that. We'll also give you an update on where we are in terms of testing for COVID in various nursing homes. As of Monday, we were given the authority by the state health department, for the county health department, to test for COVID inside nursing homes. That has been a big issue that we've all focused on. And now that the county has a direct role in being able to do the testing, we're going to do our very best to test all the patients as much as we can. Keep in mind that as we test inside nursing homes, we would expect the number of positive cases to jump up. And so the numbers that you've seen over the last few weeks, if you're tracking them as we are, has shown a steady decline in the number of active cases, which is a net result of total positive cases and the number of people that were positive 2 weeks ago that are now in theory COVID clear. We expect as we do that testing inside nursing homes, we're going to find many more cases of COVID. Those numbers will jump up. We're also waiting to see the impact of what the governor has discussed, which is a new fatality analysis of what's happening inside nursing homes. And we anticipate that that could be a jump in the number of our fatalities. The number we had yesterday for fatalities was 1,116. The day before that was 1,101. That was an increase of 15 fatalities overnight, the prior night. Over the last few days, the number of fatalities has decreased. 3-4 weeks ago, we were running 40, 45 fatalities a night. That number is down 15, 16, 17. But the reason why we're here at Lenoir Preserve today is to recognize that every fatality is not a statistic, it's a human being. And we wanted to do something to remember their lives, not just the way that individuals died, but that the way they lived. And that every one of these individuals had somebody who loved them, somebody who cared about them, was somebody's spouse, was somebody's father, was somebody's mother, or sister, or coworker, or person they knew in the neighborhood, a person they knew at their house of worship. They were human beings who lived their lives, and as of March 1st, just a little over 2 months ago, was alive. And now here, the first week of May, have passed away. We have had a concentration of loss, which is what makes this the pandemic that it is, a concentration of loss in a very short period of time. At another time, we'll talk about our fatality management problems, which you're well aware of and how we're trying to handle it. But none of this matters. Not how are we going to reopen, not what are we closing, what are we opening, not about our management of fatalities per se, if we don't accept the initial factor that we try to do everything we can to save lives. And when we lose those lives, we try to respect them and mourn them. We're here today because we've created a program for remembrance. This does not solve the substantive problem of COVID, but this deals with us as human beings. And we need, within our culture, we need certain societal touch points in which we come together. We have lost through COVID the ability to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. I'm of Irish American background, Italian American background. I miss having had the parades for St. Patrick's Day and being down on McLean Avenue to enjoy that. We just yesterday missed Cinco de Mayo, which is a great celebration for our friends who are Mexican and in general the Latino community. Mother's Day is coming up on the weekend. We're not going to be able to celebrate Mother's Day we want. We don't know how we're going to celebrate Memorial Day, which is an important day. People who have young students who are getting ready to graduate high school, this is when their senior proms would be. This is when the graduations would be. Any of us who remember our high school years, remember how much fun it was that last year as that last few weeks as we were getting ready to graduate. We're going to miss all those symbolism things. Symbolism has its place. And in our culture, we're replacing symbolism that we were accustomed to, comforted by, with symbolism that we're not comforted by, having to wear masks all the time. This is something we have to adjust to and adapt to. And I would highlight that the society does not do things on a dime. It's taking time for people to remember to bring their masks with them or to understand why you need to have a mask. But the one thing that we haven't forgot as a society is how we have to honor people who have died, people who've meant something to us. That's what this is about. The program for Ribbons of Remembrance is very simple. What we've done here, we want to thank the Parks Department and also our Communications Department for working in harmony. This shows one more example of how county government employees, if you will, when given an opportunity to be creative and to do something worthwhile, have come up with a very simple way for us to recognize those who've died amongst us. This birdhouse that's sitting off to the right of the podium houses in it individual ribbons and also markers in it. And we invite, on their own time frame, there isn't a particular time for this, whatever family members find their way here will come and they can take one of those ribbons and take a marker and make a statement of whatever they think about the person that they've lost. We've all lost people that we know and love through this process, people that I've worked with. Glenn Bolito was a town councilman in Eastchester. Mike Randazzo was a Portchester auto body and a guy I would see at a church on Sunday and sometimes in the local coffee shop. Jose Almazan had the Little Mexican Cafe in New Rochelle. It was a restaurateur that was well known in his community. Shirley Gibbs, who just yesterday said goodbye to Deputy Chief of the White Plains Fire Department, Ed Sioka. Emily Flata, Rosalind Edwards, so many different people who were alive just those 2 months ago. So you put your message on the purple ribbon, and then you can take the purple ribbon and hang it behind us in a couple of different places. Certainly on this roster here is a place to do it. And I gather, Kathy, you're doing it on the trees back in
yes, they're in the back.
And you can see some here in some of the younger trees. And it's a chance for you to do something tangible to remember that person. And then in those quiet moments, when it's you and the remembrance of your loved one and the nature, we're here by the eternal Hudson River and the eternal mountains of the skies, which were here before we got here, they'll be here long after we're gone. But it's a way to remember that these people once were with us and were important to us, and we're not going to forget them. This is a short walk away from the Whiteman Mansion. We hope someday, hopefully, during my opportunity in this position to come back here and see a renovated building that will have a functional use again, as it once was a beautiful homestead overlooking the Hudson River. We have hopeful plans for that on a different day, but the setting couldn't be more beautiful. And this is a way for visitors to come and make that respect for them. This effort will be up throughout the course of the spring, the summer, into the fall. We may find that the ribbons don't survive severe weather conditions, and we'll invite people to come back and replace them. And then before we get into the winter, hopefully we'll have a different, more permanent way to memorialize everyone, because it would be difficult to keep this up through a bunch of time in the winter weather season. But even as people will come here, this is one of the parks that we've kept open for passive use, passive recreation. We hope it'll be something where somebody will come by and see the purple ribbons and remember that where there is now a ribbon, there was once a human being, that human being mattered to us, and that someone loved that person and they were loved in return. And that is, if there's any one story about COVID in this outbreak, that's the story. That we've lost people that we loved and we won't forget them. With that, as I said, since I don't have any particular statistics that I can share today, yesterday's statistics show that we had in the vicinity of 5,500 active cases, which is a subtraction between the total number of positives, 30,000. That number grows every day. Subtracting 2 weeks ago, in the vicinity of 5,500 active cases. We hope those number of active cases continue to go down. If they do, they represent a bell curve that we all have in our mind about how the infection starts and peaks up, flattens the curve, and now we're on the downside. It is not reducing as fast as it went up. It went up very quickly in late March and early April to what were peak numbers that we had feared would be even higher. And fortunately, through good fortune and hard work by a lot of people, a flattened peak. And now we're on the downslope, but the downslope is slow in coming. And as I said, the numbers may be affected any given night by hospitalization numbers. It may be affected by what we may yet find out from the state about an increase in deaths that are tracked to nursing homes that were previously unreported. If you do see a big jump in the numbers, it won't be because they all expired last night. This will be an accumulation over a number of weeks for which that reporting wasn't made. And the reporting of the nursing homes went directly to the state. They didn't go into the normal reporting system. So it sounds bureaucratic, but in the final analysis, we'll have those numbers. And as I said, some of those other issues that I've alluded to, I talked about them a bit yesterday. I'll talk about them some more tomorrow. And if you have any questions now in the question period, I'll be happy to try to answer them to the best of my ability. So if you have a question, just raise your hand. I'll be happy to point to you and you can ask the question and we'll go from there.
We have any reporters here with questions? If not, we have one.
Okay, well, I'll take one from online then, and then we'll come back to anybody who's here.
Okay, so the question that came in today came in from a few different news outlets, but the basic question is Simon Property Mall says they want to open their Westchester shops on May 15th. Can they do this?
Well, the decision to reopen New York State, to go from New York pause to New York forward, rests with Governor Cuomo. It's his executive order that closed the malls, that closed the restaurants, the bars, the nail salons, the bowling alleys, the movie theaters, and all those things. And he has done most of those things in concert with Governor Lamont from Connecticut and Governor Murphy from New Jersey. If you look off to the corner, you can pretty much see where New Jersey starts. And on my way home before the night's over, I'll be able to cross Connecticut. So it's a region of 3 states. And the decision to close the malls were made in part with that discussion. We don't know if the governor is going to extend the time frame, which is currently scheduled to expire May 15th. Simon Properties, a major nationwide mall management firm, largest in the nation, runs the Westchester Mall in the heart of White Plains, and other holdings elsewhere in Westchester County, can make a corporate decision, but that corporate decision will be subject to whether or not the governor determines that the pause will be lifted on the 15th or continued into the 16th and through some future date. The governor has already announced that schools will not be in session for the rest of the academic year, which means to the end of June. And he has not given any indication yet that he was prepared to open any particular area. And this is not just malls, but everything in that area, unless we met certain criteria. He established 7 different factors, some of which Westchester County has made good progress on, some of which contact tracing has not yet begun. And in fact, by the end of the week, we intend to lay out our game plan and submit it to the state so they can see exactly where we stand in trying to hit those metrics. Those metrics, as I understand the governor's program, will determine when the governor determines that a region is prepared to open. Now, I believe we're part of the region that includes Rockland County and also the lower Hudson Valley up through Ulster County, perhaps Dutchess County, certainly Orange, and so forth. The regional decision would be made based on how all of those counties, I would gather, hit their metric marks on this. And I think that will govern whether the mall's open or not. From a business decision, I have in essence the same authority, which is I can open Playland, but it won't open unless the governor lifts his ban on amusement parks. The truth of the matter is I'm less likely to open Playland rather than more likely to open it because I'm concerned, as the managers of the mall should be, about how do you socially distance in a mall setting, and how do you socially distance in an amusement park? Those are just practical difficulties that we would deal with. And for those of you who are reporters, if I made you the executive and I said to you, don't report the news, help me craft the news, tell me how I'm going to distance at a swimming pool. When kids get in a pool, they go back and forth everywhere as they naturally would in a swimming pool. How do you distance? So it's going to be difficult. I think it's going to be very difficult for a mall to open up, but it's not my decision to make. It is the governor's decision to make. And we'll be watching closely to see what he does. If he does decide that certain things are going to open, it'll fall to us to help implement those things and to be as ready as we can.
That's the last question.
That was the only question. Okay. We'll open it up again to any of our friends in the press. You've taken the time to come out here, walk through the woods. Happy to take any questions.
On the Memorial Garden, was there, Westchester seemed to be one of the first hot spots. It seems to be also one of the first to kind of set up a memorial. Was timing a factor, or is this, well, I guess what was the thought process leading up to it?
Well, I think we were impacted by being the first. Now, in the initial, the index patient, the initial individual in New Rochelle who contracted the disease visibly, there may have been others of us who contracted the disease, we just didn't know it and didn't get sufficiently ill, or if we were in the hospital, didn't track it to COVID. But from that first person forward, we had the first 100 cases that were anywhere in New York State or within the region. And so we immediately, as a group of people, responded to this. So COVID response wasn't something that we had to be dragged into. It was on our mind before it was a problem in other places. And I think that may be one of the issues nationwide. We're not dealing with the nation, just the county and the region right now. But I think there are parts of this country that haven't seen what's yet to happen in terms of COVID. But for now, since we did see it first and we had fatalities early on in the process, I think it did sensitize us to having to do a host of different things. And that led to this. I'm happy to tell you this was not my personal original idea, but when it was proposed by my Cracker Jack team, including Catherine Chaffee, our Director of Communications, Kathy O'Connor, who's our Commissioner of Parks, Recreation, and Conservation, Peter Tattaglia, the first Deputy Commissioner, as they came back with this idea, it struck a chord. It absolutely appealed to our sense of wanting to honor people. And I think that does come out of the fact that Westchester was first in this region to see the effects of it, and we're trying very hard to respond to all those elements. Any other questions that anybody may have? If not, you're certainly welcome to call us a little bit later on if you have any amplification you want in any of these things. We're going to move forward with our plans to handle, as I said, antibody testing underway, testing in nursing homes underway, contact testing, which we've yet to figure out exactly how we're going to create that plan in compliance, our food distribution plans and make sure we get those in compliance. You know that we've had what we consider to be a balanced program in terms of recreation. I've just alluded to what we don't intend to open. And we have at some degree of discussion about opening some other activities, recreational activities that we think can be socially distanced. And of course, there's always controversy attached with every decision, but we're prepared to defend it. And obviously, to the extent that you're covering any of these things as news stories, we're happy to respond. So with that, thank you for coming out. We appreciate it. And thank you for the rain not coming down in buckets. We appreciate that. Thank you all very much. Do spend time here in with our ribbons of remembrance. Have a good day. Stay safe.